what's the
unbelievable.
biggest concern in Ninerland? Either side of the ball. I'll give you one. I'm concerned that all this emphasis on special teams is not going to amount to much. Gold is hurt. They just gave the returner last week 2 huge returns. Gold had to make a tackle in both of them. They added all these guys in special teams. Ray McLeod may now be I get the sense that we're going to see some high profile fumbles. That concerns me. And
He didn't look good catching the ball.
They switched the coordinator, they switched talent, they made an investment. It all looks like it's going to amount to the exact same thing. That's my primary concern.
No, I think, Larry, you're underrating. There's been a certain injury that's really affected the coverage the last 2 weeks. Because I think the special teams coordinator changing things was a little bit overrated, just because I saw a good special teams coordinator in Richard Hightower. There were moments like the 2017 special teams was very good, and then they kind of middle of the pack. But I think what became difficult is that the Niners used to get so injured that they would rotate a lot of guys, and they would sign a lot of guys, and they would immediately have to come in and play special teams. So there wasn't really a synchronization to the special teams because there were so many people in and out. But Tarvarius Moore being hurt has affected the coverage. Him and George Odom, to me, are like game-changing gunners. They get down the field so fast, they're aggressive, and they tackle really well. And I think without him, the special teams has been hurt a little bit. I don't think that it's a point for concern yet, but I'm with you. I do think that I'd be getting there soon just because, someone like Oren Burks has not played like a core elite special teamer yet. George Odom is a great special teams player, but all pro special teamer, when you have that kind of player on your special teams, you don't expect to be giving up big returns. So that's there. What I would say my biggest concern is
they have not hit a deep ball. Jason on the text says concern is Danny Gray, Jimmy G hookup. It seemed like we were going to see Trey to Danny Gray quite a bit this year. And once Trey went down, is Danny Gray Jimmy?
I'm actually a little bit skeptical of that. Shanahan has never played a receiver and just put him on and played him meaningful snaps and called plays for him when even if you can run to play receiver in Shanahan's offense, you have to be comfortable playing all 3 positions. You have to show that you can he's kind of a traditionalist, if that makes sense in that way. Like, he won't just keep a McCole Hardman on his roster the way Andy Reid does, just to run a few gadget plays and maybe he gets better as a receiver. So I don't know if Danny Gray truly would have gotten many more opportunities with Trey Lance. I really don't know. I'm a little skeptical of it, though. But if you ask me, even that, Larry, they find ways to generate explosive plays. So I'm not so worried about the deep ball. To me, it's can you create explosive plays? And right now they have the last 2 weeks in the run game. My concern is not a concern that's long-term as much. It's a concern about this moment. This front seven is beaten up.
This particular live stream?
Yes, exactly. This live stream today.
This exact moment?
Who
that
they're
comment
playing,
from Portola 45? I mean, are we talking about exactly this moment or just this week?
Yes, this week, this game. Yeah, Curtis Robinson is coming back. I was surprised he made the roster. In fact, he is a core special teamer. You're absolutely right. But it's the attrition in the front seven, Larry. 5 starters are injured. Azeez Al-Shaair, Samson Ebukam, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, and Javon Kinlaw. They are playing the number 3 rushing offense in the NFL. And I think a lot of people haven't really watched Atlanta this year. I thought one of the better tweets I saw today, Splash Cousin tweeted out, Jordan Elliott, follow him, make sure you do. He's really good.
We just had him on the other day. He's good.
Yeah. He tweeted out, and I felt that way watching Atlanta this year, and then really, going back and watching a few of their games back on film and stuff to be prepared for this show and being able to talk about the Falcons. They're a very well-coached team on both sides. Arthur Smith really knows how to run the football. He knows how to create space in the run game. This might be the best run game scheme the Niners will go up against all season, especially when you add the fact that their entire run game is built around having the quarterback being a part of it, and they have that read principle as part of their entire run game. It's going to be a tough run game to go against because of how good Arthur Smith is. Then on defense, I don't love their talent, but I really like Dean Pease. He's a veteran. He knows how to call a game. He's creative. He knows how to give his guys opportunities. I think the Niners offense should have success, but I do think overall the reason Atlanta competes in all of these games throughout the season is they're very well coached. But to go on, why is the run game now a concern for me? Because the Niners are the number one run defense in the NFL. It's because of the guys they're missing, right? And you talked about it earlier. Atlanta's offensive line is the most underrated unit in all of football. It was a bad unit when these guys were rookies. Those 3 number 1 picks now, Lindstrom and McGarry, they've become good players now. Atlanta has a top 10
Drew
offensive
Dahlman,
line
yep.
in the NFL. Nobody knows this. The Atlanta Falcons have a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. This is the first game that the 49ers are playing an opponent, and I think that the 49ers don't have the best offensive line on the field. I didn't feel that. I thought their line was better than Denver, better than Seattle. I mean, I keep getting impressed every week by Albert Lucas, and Charles Cross. So Seattle might end up being the best offensive line in this division, honestly, by week 17. Like they're getting better and better very fast. But Abraham Lucas, I called him Albert, excuse me.
Right, Abraham Lucas and Cross.
And Charles Cross.
Mississippi State kid who's incredible.
Right, but otherwise, I felt like the offensive line with the Niners has been better besides this Atlanta team. And really what makes me worried is the fact that you don't have depth. You're going on the road on the East Coast against a team that's very committed and has an identity running the football. Defensive lines can wear out. Is this a game that, you don't have depth, you're missing key guys? First of all, they're going to miss the size of Armstead and Kinlaw. We saw glimpses of that versus Carolina, and Carolina doesn't have a strong interior offensive line, and they don't have the creative run scheme that Atlanta does. But Christian McCaffrey had space, and he had success on key running downs. He had success running the football at times. They just weren't able to be committed to it because of the scoring situation. And so Atlanta has this identity. It's not that I think Atlanta's going to win, but I look at the matchup and the way Atlanta's committed to running the football, how close they've played every team they've played so far. And there's been some good teams they've played, how well coached they are on the road. It's not as easy a matchup, I think, for the Niners, especially when you tell me 4 guys on a defensive line are hurt, Larry. How many snaps are they going to play? What if Atlanta really gets a rhythm with the run game? If they do, then it changes how many snaps they play, how fresh these guys are. So that's where I'm maybe a little bit more concerned about the injuries on the defensive line than some others. Because to me, other than Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead, what makes this defensive line special is that Charles Omenihu would be starting for 29 other teams in the NFL.